Aloha. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Kendall Anise, the Remix Coach, and welcome to Morning Conversations. Shout out to Instagram. Hey, y'all. Hey. Hey, Melissa. Shout out to Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Welcome. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, cousins. I hope everybody is well. My cuties, all my followers, I appreciate you so much. Today, this morning, I didn't even make my smoothie or tea because I wanted to get right down to the get down. I want to talk about emotional availability. I love you more, emotional availability or emotional unavailability. But we'll talk about emotional availability. Let me get it out, because oftentimes people say, as a life coach, as a person that has dated and been in relationships forever, right? We know this term, emotional availability. What is that? Hey, Leroy. Good morning. Good morning. Angela, good morning. MC Raven, good morning. Who else is here? Colleen, good morning. Nita, God's girl, good morning. All right. So we talk about emotional availability and what that is. And she wasn't emotionally available. He wasn't emotionally available. What is that? Because oftentimes you hear people say it and point outwardly. They weren't. But I have a question for you that might sting. Are you emotionally available? Has your unhealed places and spaces stopped you from being emotionally available? Have your traumas and your dramas and the things that you've been through, have they caused you not to be emotionally available? Because sometimes you think it may be another person when it might be you. Now, it might be them too, but it could be you as well. So let's break that down. Being emotionally available describes the ability to make and hold emotional connections with others in relationships, right? That doesn't just mean romantic relationships, that could be friendships or kinships as well. So think about that. A licensed counselor and a doctor of behavioral health says being emotionally available requires you to be vulnerable, open, and honest, right? So some people are not vulnerable, some people are not open, and some people are not honest. Let me repeat it in this way. Sometimes you are not vulnerable, sometimes you are not open, and sometimes you are not honest from the inside out, right? That's why it's so important when you're getting to know people, or whether it's romantic or friendships or getting to reintroduce to family, you have to be vulnerable to have a solid connection. You cannot have a solid connection with anyone if you're not vulnerable. And most people don't like to be vulnerable because you have to trust in that case. And there's so many people who have trust issues. It's difficult for them to be vulnerable or open, or they were burned before emotionally, whether they shared their secrets or themselves with, romantic partners or friends, right? Or even family. And now they feel like if they couldn't be vulnerable with this friend, they're not going to be vulnerable with that friend, because when they were vulnerable with this friend, oh, they tell that all their business. They judged them, they made them feel a certain way, or they exposed their secrets, whatever it was, when they were vulnerable with them, right? So now when they're entering another friendship, they're like, no new friends. I'm not trying to have a friend because the last friend I had, did this. So I'm not going to be honest. I'm not going to be open. I'm not going to be, I'm going to be closed. I'm not going to be willing to share. But then you're not going to have that friendship that you see scrolling through social media, and it's a surprise birthday party for a friend, or this friend is doing this for another friend, or this friend is doing. You're not going to have that closeness, because in order to have that bond with somebody, you're going to have to share something. You ever see somebody when they're having a conversation, right? Or somebody is sharing their guts, they're sharing all their feelings and their emotions and their past and their hurts and their traumas and their unhealed spaces, and they're being completely vulnerable. And then you see the other person like, oh, oh, okay. It's like not sharing anything. That's going to show that person. And I love seeing that, because the person that's vulnerable and sharing, you can tell they're healed in that space. You can tell that they're not allowing their past to stop them from connecting with someone, or they're okay with their truth. They're okay with, themselves, so they don't mind sharing. Where the other person is super, super close. They don't want to share anything because they think that is going to harm them, even though the other person is teaching them how to share by expressing themselves. They're still unable to do that. So if you want to know if you're emotionally available, let's give some signs. So is he or she, let's talk about romantically, right? Is he or she emotionally available? So let's break that down, because sometimes you might wonder, are they emotionally available? And do you have these kind of adult conversations? Hey, I'm going into a relationship. I want someone who is emotionally available, someone that can share, right? Someone that can be open, somebody that can be vulnerable, somebody that can tell me that they messed up, they made a mistake. It's not the other person's fault always. Like somebody that can take ownership. So is he stable or she stable and present, right? Are they stable emotionally in their present day, where they've done their healing and they've done all of that? Thank you, Melissa. Yes. Are they a good listener? Are they a good listener? Is he or she, if you're in a romantic relationship or trying to get into one, are they a good listener? Like, could they actually repeat back what you said? Or are they thinking about what they're doing? Because active listening is different from just listening and hearing, like in one ear and out the other. Can they repeat back what you said? Do they hear your heart? Are they a good listener? That can tell you if somebody is emotionally available, meaning they're giving you their undivided attention. Is he or she able to hear and take in feedback? That's another way to tell if they're emotionally available. Can they take feedback? Are they willing to do that? They're here, right? Next one, you feel understood. That's how you can tell if somebody is emotionally available. You feel secure in your relationship. That's a sign, and those are questions that you want to ask yourself to see if they are emotionally present. Because you can be in a relationship for 20 years and neither person is emotionally available. You just become this couple that does things this way, and you know each other, right? You're with each other. Hey, Sheila, you're with each other. You know each other. It doesn't mean both people in the relationship are vulnerable. It just means that you're in a routine. I've seen couples, I've done couple coaching, right? Where I have seen a couple in relationships. I've seen this multiple times, and they're not emotionally available, and neither one of them know that neither one of them are emotionally available. They think that they are emotionally available because they're in a relationship, they love each other, they don't argue, they don't fuss, but they're not emotionally available to each other. Like each of them can't tell their darkest secrets or share what's on their heart or have conversations about emotions and feelings. One person's like, quit all that with that emotional talk. put all of that with that feelings. I don't need to know how you feel about everything. You know what I mean? Or someone might say, well, you don't, he don't have emotions or feelings. He just, that's just making excuses for the unavailability within their relationship. And we know this to be true. A lot of people just function dysfunctionally because they don't know any better. That's what they do. You know what I mean? That's how they operate. They focus in that way, and they live in those spaces that they don't even have a clue that they're unhealed. It is not a healed person or going through a healing journey who is not emotionally available. If you're not emotionally available, there's a place that you're not healed from, whether it's trust, whether it's hurt, whether it's pain. If you cannot be available emotionally in any form of relationship, then that's a space of healing. That's an opportunity to heal, to have a conversation. And if you're in a relationship or dating somebody and you don't even feel comfortable to have honest conversations, then you have to question that as well. Which part is the eye opener, Melissa? And I love that you're on here as a newlywed, because a lot of people in relationships don't have the tools, right? And they just go blindly in these relationships, no matter how long they've been together. But I want people to have strong and healthy relationships. I've had enough unhealthy relationships, right, to understand what an unhealthy relationship, whether I was unhealthy in the relationship, they were unhealthy in the relationship, or we both were a hot mess unhealthy in relationships. I don't subscribe to any relationships that are unhealthy any longer, because sometimes you're in an unhealthy relationship and you don't even know it until it's magnified, right? And you got work to do on yourself and they have work to do on them. Yeah, I'm glad. And I said that I will no longer be a willing participant in an unhealthy relationship. I have grown too much. I have worked too hard to be in a healthy space emotionally, that I will not entertain an unhealthy relationship. I won't even give it time. Some people say, well, give it time. You have to recognize and use your discernments, and you have to recognize red flags. And this goes for everybody. I'm trying to date again after leaving a 23-year marriage. Sometimes that is difficult, but it's only difficult if you haven't grown, if you haven't learned, if you haven't done your self work. I think that you will be just fine. Only you know why you divorce after 23 years, and someone just doesn't divorce after 23 years if they haven't really attempted in the relationship over and over and over again to make it work. And when most people file for divorce, right, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's something that's happened over and over again, whether it's months or years. And it's to the point where they're like, okay, I choose healthy, or I choose me. So just make sure when you date again that you've done the work. You're not going to be 100% healed. So that doesn't mean don't date until you're 100% healed. Nobody is 100% healed, because there's something that's always going to come up. But just make sure that you're in the healthiest space when you go out dating, because you don't want anybody subjected to your unhealthy behavior, or you don't want to be subjected to anybody else's unhealthy ways. And some people don't even know, in defense of some people don't even know. And a relationship is an excellent mirror, right, to show you who you are in certain spaces, not in a negative way, but show you who you are as places and spaces to now grow. That's an excellent form. So whatever you've learned in your past relationships, make sure you heal from that, right? Make sure you grow from that. So you were able to understand you more, right? Okay. Let's give some examples of emotional availability, right? Because we know what it's not. We know when you're not emotional available, like you can think about this. If you are talking to somebody, let's just say you're dating, you said dating. So if you're dating somebody for a month, 2, 3, as you enter back into the dating realm, right? And you've never had an intimate conversation, not saying you got to know all his business, he got to know all your business up front. Use discernment on that too, because people will use certain things against you, right? If they're unhealed. But think about if you have been talking to somebody a month or two, and the only text that you guys have is how you doing, what you doing, how was work, what you doing this weekend, what did you eat for dinner, where are you going shopping, how are your kids, how is your mom. If you only have those type of text back and forth, good morning beautiful, good morning handsome, how are you, like all of that, then you're not, neither one of you are willing to be emotionally invested. Because after a month or two, you should have connected emotionally in some type of way. Not saying that's your person, but it should be more of a conversation. If it's not, somebody is not emotionally available. Let's see. How do you break down the wall of communication when you have a spouse that shuts down all the time? That's good. You break down the wall by saying and acknowledging that wall. You say, listen, we keep having these same conversations over and you're welcome, Angela. All right, so we keep having these same conversations over and over again. I don't think you're listening to me. I don't think you're hearing me. When I talk about something you don't like, you don't want to talk anymore. And that's not a way for us to stay together. That's not a way for us to have a healthy relationship, because in a healthy relationship, there is healthy communication. So you break down that wall, Melissa, by calling a thing and saying, listen, you know what's going on. Because sometimes when somebody doesn't communicate, it's often deeper than what we think. It could be they're not paying attention, they don't hear. It could be deeper. So you break down that wall, especially if you're in a committed relationship or you married, ain't no walls. We breaking down the walls because we want this thing to work. So let's have that. Now, the thing about a conversation is you can't have a conversation by yourself. If you're trying to converse with someone and they're shutting down and they're tuning you out and they're ignoring you, are you aware that that's a part of gaslighting? People don't understand gaslighting. It's emotional abuse. And people think, okay, it got to be name calling, it got to be this. But when someone, if you're talking to someone, right, and they're ignoring you, they're acting like they're not hearing you, they give you the silent treatment, that's a form of emotional abuse, because they're manipulating that, where you have the one person going after, did you hear me? Did you understand what I said? Did you? And they acting like you don't even exist. That's emotional manipulation. That's emotional abuse. That's an unhealthy space in a relationship. And people don't understand this. Honey, I've studied this. This is stuff I've done research on. This is stuff that I've had personal experience with, right? This is what I've had professional experience with. These are things that I have talked about with clients over the years, right? That's emotional abuse. So, and not saying that you're being emotionally abused in your relationship, but that is a form. So if you recognize something, you have to nip that in the bud, and both people have to be able to connect and communicate and want better. And it's okay to see a couples coach, not just me, but anybody, a therapist, whatever it is. If you see little signs, to nip it, especially if you want your relationships to work. And if you want to be able to have open and effective communication, which is listening and going back and forth without interruption, so you can actually hear and understand what the person is saying. Yes, been there. That's why I finally left. I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm so happy now. And I love myself too much to deal with that from anyone. Angela, I totally agree. Kudos. You're welcome. You're welcome, Melissa. All right. So let's talk about signs that somebody is truly 100% emotionally available. They're able to have meaningful conversations about the root of their emotions. Yes, I blew up. I popped off, not because I'm angry, because we know anger is a secondary emotion. It's because my feelings were hurt. It's because I felt unvalued or disrespected. That's how you're able to get to the root of your emotions. And if somebody is not connected and don't have the roots to their emotions, right? They're going to think that the person is angry, or they're going to think that the person is mean. But that's secondary. Those are secondary emotions when they don't feel valued and they don't feel heard in the beginning, right? Another sign is they're able to comfort others during emotional times. That's how you know they're emotionally available. Even if they're feeling some type of way, they're able to connect with another person's feelings and emotions, right? They're willing to discuss feelings openly and honestly. Openly and honestly. Tell somebody if that's your person, right? And you're in a relationship or you're dating and you know that that's the person that you want to express your emotions, right? Tell them how you feel. People say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to seem vulnerable or weak. Then you're never going to have a solid, connected relationship if you're unable to be able to connect in that type of way. So it's so important to be able to do that, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to connect. Respect other people's boundaries. That's how you can tell if somebody's emotionally available. If you tell somebody you have this boundary and please don't cross this boundary, and they continue to do that, they're not emotionally respecting you and they're not emotionally available to connect with you in that way. This hurts my feelings when you do this, right? You hurt my feelings when you did that. That you have to be able to effectively communicate. Hey, Kevy Kev, Corinne, how are you? You're supposed to be able to connect in that way. If you're not able to connect with somebody in that space, you're not willing to be emotionally available to them. And if somebody tells you how they feel, right? And their emotions behind their actions or their words, not to discredit or discard, but to be able to listen. If somebody is sharing their emotions or feelings with you and you be like, I don't know about all that. I don't, no, you're discrediting them. You're not even allowing them to be emotionally available. That's saying that the other person, male or female, is being emotionally unavailable, right? So the person that's emotionally available is going to shut down. The person ain't listening anyway. I'm trying to share my feelings, my emotions. They're not listening anyway. So I'm going to go sit over here and I'm going to shut down. That's not the makings of a healthy relationship. That's not the makings of a healthy relationship. It's so important to be able to understand what an emotionally healthy relationship is. So, how do you know if you're unavailable? I talked about this earlier and I'm going to speak about it then. The fear of commitment or the fear of getting close are two common signs of emotional unavailability for men and women. Emotionally unavailable partners might prefer having, I just want to kick it. I just want to have a casual relationship. People may end a relationship and say, you know what? It's getting too serious. I'm out. I can't deal with all of these feelings and emotions. This is getting deep. Let's keep it light. You ever be online dating? They have online dating. I used to do online dating workshops and teach people how to safely date online. If you're still interested in those, let me know. I'll definitely do that. But and people would have friendship or I don't want a commitment. And that could be because they doing something they don't have no business doing too. Or it could be they don't don't want that emotional connection because it was too painful before, that they don't want no parts of that. So if you're out there dating, the fear of commitment, the fear of getting close are two common signs of emotional unavailability for men and women. Now, the myth is people think that the men do not want an emotional connection. They think the men don't want to get close or the commitment, but sometimes it could be the woman. So we have to get all of these gender role biases thinking, oh, well, men think this way and women think this way. No, not at all. Popcorn. Popcorn. His name is Popcorn. I grew up with him. Hi, how you doing? So it's so important that you understand and not say, well, men don't share their feelings and emotions, but women do. Women are emotionally available, but men aren't. Some women ain't emotionally available, and some men are. Some men are emotionally available, and some women are, right? It just depends on the person, their trauma, their experiences, their past relationships, because some people's past relationships can take them all the way back to they like, I don't even want to look at another woman or a man, right? And that's when you know that it's still parts that need to be healed. And that's okay. Healing ain't free. It's going to cost you, but it's going to be so worth it in the end. All right. So let's give some tips on how to stop being emotionally unavailable. Because I'm just not going to take you on this trip and talk about the emotional unavailability and what it is and not help you get to that space. So here are tips on stop being emotionally available. And let's see, one second. And this is from the Heart Center. So this is a list. I gave you mine, and I want to share this list with you as well. Breaking down the walls is so real. Honey, it's real. Like if you want a solid relationship, then you're gonna have, it ain't no walls. You're gonna have to break them down. Not saying it ain't no walls, meaning you don't have privacy, because both of you are two individuals, but you got to break down that walls. If your common goal is to stay together, to be together, to have a healthy relationship, because people can have relationships all day long. I can get to a relationship right now. I don't want unhealthy, right? I want healthy. I want strategic. I want purposeful, intentional. So you can't come with no garbage, right? And I don't want to come to anybody with no garbage, right? So you have to do the work, right? And you have to be able to have somebody that's willing to do the work also, not shut down, not ignore, not walk away, not neglect, not, do, certain things. It's you have to have somebody that's saying, okay, let's put the cards on the table. Let's do this, right? It can't be one person talking and one person listening, or one person listening and one person talking. You have to have a common goal. You have to be able to connect and be emotionally available. You can't have the man spilling his guts, sharing all his personal business, his past, his all of that, and you ain't saying nothing. You can't have the woman sharing everything, giving you her whole rundown, her whole life, and the man is saying, I'm not ready to share yet. Maybe in 5 to 10 years, I'll be ready to share. Like you can't, it's not going to work that way. It's going to be totally uneven. So as I conclude, here are 6 effective tips to stop being emotionally unavailable. And this is from theheartcenter.com. Take a hard look at the beliefs you have about yourself in your relationships. Now, anytime that I'll give somebody, because y'all know, y'all see my papers here, I do my own list, but if it's not from me, then you'll hear me quote or give credit to whoever. Because when we do this type of work, we do research, we talk to people. And when I do that, I don't want nobody taking my credit, and I ain't going to take nobody else's credit. All right. So take a hard look at beliefs you have about yourself in your relationship. It says, explore why it is that you don't feel worthy or close or have a loving relationship. Is there a way to challenge your belief that if your partner gets to truly know you, they will reject you? That's a fear for many people. Is there a way you can both explore why maybe you don't feel deserving of affection? But let me just pause there. A lot of people fear sharing who they are, vulnerability, because they don't want to turn someone away or feel rejected. Nobody wants to feel rejected or abandoned. I don't either. So I totally agree. Nobody wants to feel that way, right? So some people withhold because they don't want people to get to know them because they'll feel rejected. I'm going to tell you, if it's your person, and that's the person that God has for you, they're not going to reject you. Find somebody who has a life. Don't find somebody who's perfect and then you trying to match their perfect. No. Because you don't want somebody that says they're perfect. That means they haven't done any work on themselves. That means that they are in a delusional land. That means that they don't know no better. You don't want to be with a person who's blaming everybody else for what has happened in their previous relationships or in their lives or in their current relationship. You want somebody that's going to take ownership and responsibility of them, right? To be able to grow. So if you get into a relationship and they're like, it was them, it was their fault, they did it. That's a perfect person and we don't want no parts of them. So you're not going to feel rejected from a person who has been through the fire and back, right? Who has experienced things, because they might be feeling the same thing. They might feel the rejected part and they don't want that either. Make your partner's needs and feelings equal to yours. It requires empathy and compassion for their feelings. Stop the secret life is number 3. Emotionally unavailable partners often have a secret life, a backup plan when the relationship fails. They have someone on the side because rejection is inevitable. A secret life with others helps keep a safe distance in the relationship, this says. That's powerful and so true. They may require opening up the access to your computer, text records, and so they can clean up their, wow, yeah. Not keeping secrets is a vulnerable place, but it's the only place that allows you to invest in the relationship and get the returns you deeply need. Number 4, make time for your partner. Place your partner at the, and it says place your partner and children at the top of the priority list. This is done with action. Words might sound comforting to your partner. Without the action follow through, they are meaningless. Number 5, work on taking responsibility of your emotions. I talk about this all the time. They made me say this. No, they could have, what they've said, you felt like you had to defend. What they said could have hurt your feelings. What they said could have made you emotional as far as crying and kicking and screaming, right? But they're still your emotions, and you have to learn to have control of that. We all have to get to that point, right? Or some of us have gotten to that point where we take ownership of our own emotions, right? So take control of your emotions. Stop acting in hurtful ways or saying things, that may hurt your partner. Commit to opening up is number 6. Share your deepest fears. Tell your partner what makes your spine tingle. Tell them about your life's greatest disappointments and biggest dreams. Love requires more than physical touch. Amen. It requires emotional touching. It requires both your partner and you to let each other see your inner world. That's so important. I connect with people intellectually and emotionally. Now, if somebody is not intellectual, if somebody is not willing to be vulnerable and let you in, it's hard for me to connect. It's hard for people in general to connect. That's what I'm saying personally and professionally. That's what people are saying in the industry. It's difficult to do that. Tell people your disappointments, your hopes, and your dreams. Tell people that you've done the work. Tell people you're in therapy, you see in a life coach. Don't be ashamed of that. Because to me, one of mine, if I go out and try to date If the person tells me they never been to therapy, they never been to coaching, they never been to counseling, they never done no work, they don't be listening to no podcasts, no lives to try to be better, I'm going to back away, because that person is not going to be evenly yoked with me. I have done the work. I continue to do the work on myself. I don't just teach it to you all. I do it myself. So if I have somebody that is not doing the work, or then if I meet somebody, that's not the person I want to rock with. I don't want to rock with perfect people. I want to rock with wounded people who are doing their work to be better intentionally. Bye. Thank you so much. All right. So I'll see you guys. Don't forget to share this. Commit to opening up. It's important to do that. All right. So we're going to go out and be great. We're going to be emotionally available. You're going to use your discernment. You're going to be able to recognize people who are not emotionally available. That can be in a romantic relationship, a dating space. That could be with your friends. That could even be with family. So you can't expect somebody to give what you're not willing to give. But first, you have to do the work. You have to be better on your own so you can be better in any type of relationship. Again, whether it's romantic, a friendship, you want to be a great friend, right? You want to be a great family member, and you want to be a great partner in a relationship. So you have to do your work too. All right, this morning conversation went a little longer than most of them, but remember, you guys are a star. Don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Till next time, God bless. Peace. Thank you, everybody, for your comments, for your likes, for your hearts, all of that through this. If you feel like this has blessed you, please share this and please bless someone else. These are the conversations that need to go viral, not all the foolery and trickery and foolishness. But all right, y'all. Thank y'all for listening and watching. God bless y'all. Peace. Morning Conversations.